It had already become clear well before the election was called this week that the makeup of Westminster's Green Benches was heading for a generational shake-up. More than 100 MPs, including a post-war record number of Conservatives, say they're leaving the Commons for good. And tonight, two more high-profile Tories joined the exodus. Michael Gove, the Housing Secretary, said it was time for a new generation to lead. Tonight, Rishi Sunak thanked him and admitted the government would be poorer without him. Also on her way, Health Minister and one-time leadership contender, Dame Andrea Leadsom. She too announced her resignation tonight. And so, the day when MPs made their valedictories to the House, it ends with a striking thought. Whatever the result on July the 4th, the Parliament, which sits from July the 9th, could well be scarcely recognisable.
At the start of a gruelling election campaign, tonight, one of the Prime Minister's most senior cabinet ministers is calling it a day. Michael Gove, an influential and at times divisive figure, has confirmed that he's stepping down. In a letter posted on social media, he wrote, "I have decided today not to seek to represent Surrey Heath at the forthcoming general election. This election comes almost 20 years after I was first adopted by this fantastic association as your candidate. The chance to serve is wonderful, but there comes a moment when you know that it is time to leave, that a new generation should lead." In the Commons this evening, as dozens of departing MPs gave their final speeches, there was praise for Mr Gove.
He has a significant legacy in terms of his work as Education Secretary. He wasn't always popular, but we now have significantly more good and outstanding schools in this country after 14 years of a Conservative government.
A journalist turned politician, Mr Gove was elected in 2005. He then rose up the ranks of the Conservative Party, most notably serving as Education Secretary under David Cameron, where he led a shake-up of the schooling system.
Just 3 weeks to go before the referendum.
He later became a leading figure of the pro-Brexit Vote Leave group during the 2016 referendum. And then he ran for party leader, a move regarded as a betrayal of his close ally Boris Johnson. Mr Gove's allies say his legacy and impact on policy is unparalleled.
I think he'll go down as one of Britain's best reformers, so particularly in education, where we're seeing those reforms having a real impact for people's futures, young people's futures, in the Environment Secretary, as Justice Secretary, all of the things that he did in terms of leading the Vote Leave campaign, which delivered Brexit.
He has a majority of more than 18,000, but the Liberal Democrats say his blue wall seat is within their sights.
Well, clearly what we're seeing today is so many senior Conservatives are feeling the threat from the Liberal Democrats in their seats. Michael Gove in Surrey Heath. Earlier today we heard about John Redwood in Wokingham. We heard about Greg Clark in Tunbridge Wells. These are all seats that they risk losing to the Liberal Democrats at the general election.
More than 70 Tories will step down this election. But as one of the most high-profile departures, his exit will be keenly felt in Downing Street as the PM braces for the weeks ahead. Jasmine Cameron-Shaleshi, News at 10.
And Robert's here to talk us through this and what you know from behind the scenes, Robert.
So we heard that paean of praise from the Prime Minister, and I think that's what he felt he had to say. His private thoughts, I suspect, would be less printable. He only found out today that one of the great veterans of these Tory governments, one of the most senior of his ministers, had just made up his mind, he'd had enough and was going. And actually, it's incredibly embarrassing for the Prime Minister to have had no advance warning. And for this to have, happened, at the start of a campaign that hasn't been going brilliantly, at all, really. And the big contrast is with Andrea Leadsom. People in the Tory party did know that she was thinking of going. Now, more problematic for the Prime Minister is I'm hearing that a number of other senior Tories are going to stand down over the weekend. There are already 150 Tory seats, sorry, seats, not Tory seats. There are already 150 seats with no Tory candidates, about a quarter of the total, and that number is rising. They've got to appoint candidates by June the 7th at the absolute latest. It's an enormously tall order. There can't be any campaigning really of any note in those seats if they haven't got a candidate. And I think it just shows you, in a way, how unprepared the Prime Minister's party was for the Prime Minister, for the general election that he decided to call. They just weren't expecting it.